What's up, everybody? Welcome to another episode of The Walkthrough with me, Jamie Hoyle. And as you can see, I have a very special guest with me today. As I mentioned, it's not every day we get a former NFL player on the show. This is former Lions and Bucks standout Glover Quin, um, former NFL safety, former Pro Bowler, longtime player. We're thrilled to have him on the show. Glover, thanks so much for coming on. I appreciate it.
Oh man, thank you for having me. It's Lions and Texans, not
Lions and
Bucks.
Texans. My bad. I saw the jersey back there. I thought it was Bucks. My mistake.
You good?
Already off to a bad start.
Oh nah, you good? You good?
All right. So Glover, like I told you before we came on the show, this is a preview show. So we're having you on to help preview the Lions. I'll start by asking you a few questions, and then hopefully you'll have some questions for me about the Chargers, and we'll just kind of chop it up a little bit, kicking back and forth, and it'll go, probably 45 minutes to an hour, if that's good with you, and we'll get started.
Alrighty.
All right. So obviously the Lions are having a really good season. They're off to a strong start, playing some really good football, and it seems like they're really responding really well to Dan Campbell, their head coach. So, what can you tell me about the changes that Dan Campbell has made in the locker room, on the field, that's helped kind of turn the organization around since he arrived?
Well, I mean, Dan, his whole background, his personality, everything is basically built on grit, hard work, dedication, toughness. He was that type of player, and obviously he's that type of coach, and he's been able to bring that attitude to the team, bring it back, so to say. And that's really the personality, the blueprint of the city. Detroit's a hardworking, blue collar, um, just tough minded people. Um, that's the city. And so he's been able to, bring that personality back to the football program. Um, and he's getting results now. He's had a couple of rough years. Last year, the expectations were really high coming off of Hard Knocks and coming off, going into year two of his time. The expectations were high. And they started out off bad situation. I think they were 1-5 or something like that starting out. And then they, down the stretch, I think they finished up like 9-2 or something like that, and were 8-1 or something like 8-2, somewhere like that. And they were, one game from getting in the playoffs. Seattle wins at the end. They don't get in, but they go to Green Bay on a game that Green Bay needed to have to make it to the playoffs. Must-win game for Green Bay. The Lions' destiny had already been sealed earlier in the day, and they went out there and whooped up on Green Bay in Green Bay in a must-win game for Green Bay. And I think they just took that same momentum right into the offseason. They had an incredible offseason. Free agency added some pieces to the secondary. They were big. Added David Montgomery as a running back to replace Jamal Williams. That was huge for them. So they had a really good offseason as far as free agency goes. And then you look at the draft, the guys that they were able to get in the draft. Brian Branch, who's been playing great. Sam Laporta, who's been playing great. Jack Campbell, some really good, tough-minded, love football type of rookies. Jahmyr Gibbs, the first-round draft pick. Just some guys that, embodies the same personality as the coach. Love the game, love the play, love the work, and they've came in and fit right into what they're doing, and they've seen immediate results from that. And so I just think it took some time to get the system in, to build the mentality, get the right guys in the place that you wanted. And I think now we're finally seeing, what they could be. And right now they're in a good spot, sitting at 6-2, coming off the bye. The division, Minnesota has crept back up, although they are without their starting quarterback and Kirk Cousins. but I feel like the Lions should be able to go ahead and take this division, barring they stay healthy. So it's just coming together at the right time for him, and Dan Campbell has done a great job of getting the guys in, him and Brad Holmes, and getting them coached up how he wants them to be, and they're playing tough, gritty, good football.
So you mentioned some rookies, the rookie class, guys that we do a lot of draft prep on our podcast, and we loved Laporta. I was a huge Brian Branch fan coming out, also really high on Jahmyr Gibbs. So why don't you talk about what those three guys have added, and even Campbell, in my opinion, was the best linebacker in the class. So why don't you talk about what those guys added to the offense and to the defense, how they're being utilized, and what kind of wrinkles they've added.
Well, that's the thing. I think for you look at the offense, the offense was already pretty explosive. Last year they had several games where they were over 35 points. They were already pretty explosive offensively. But they lost basically their two guys in the backfield. They lost DeAndre Swift to I think they traded him to Philly, or he left in free agency. I can't remember. I think he traded.
I think he left in free agency.
May left in free agency. I
Yeah.
think Jamal Williams left in free agency and went to the Saints. And so they end up having to replace those guys, right? So they replaced Jamal with David Montgomery in free agency, and then they went out and got Jahmyr Gibbs to basically replace DeAndre Swift. And Jahmyr Gibbs was explosive at Alabama. He was an excellent running back. And, they've brought him along slowly, limited him in touches. But this past week, the week before on Monday night, David Montgomery's out. He gets a bulk of the carries and he goes over 150 yards. That's the type of explosiveness. That's the type of ability that he has. That's why he's a first round draft pick. And so adding him to an already explosive offense, was a big addition for that offense. And they've been playing pretty well for the most part throughout the course of the season. And then you look at a guy like Brian Branch and Dan Campbell. I mean, not Dan Campbell, but Jack Campbell. But let me go back to the offense and adding Sam Laporta. Last year, they let go. They traded T.J. Hockenson. That was a big move to me because I thought T.J. Hockenson was a good player. He's a high draft pick for him, and now they was trading him. But then to come back this year and backdoor him with a Sam Laporta, a guy, tight end, he's been playing phenomenal. They was going to have to pay T.J. Hockenson. Obviously, he was coming up on contract year and things like that. And so you see they make a trade, get him out of there and bring somebody in. And Sam Laporta has been an excellent addition to this offense as well. He obviously understands the game. He obviously knows how to play. He loves to play. He's created a great relationship with Jared Goff because Jared Goff goes to him. He trusts him. He trusts him to be in the right spots. And so that just shows you that they've been putting in work together. And that gives a lot of credit to a guy like Sam Laporta. And then you go to the defensive side of the ball, Brian Branch, having a guy like that's a safety, so he's going to be a tackler, a tougher type of guy. But being, athletic enough, fast enough, quick enough to be able to play the nickel for you, that just gives you more flexibility of what you can do defensively because you can be in a nickel defense and be really strong against the run because you got an extra safety in the game for you. But then you can also match up defensively against the pass because he's good enough to cover those slots. He can cover some tight ends down in there. So he's just been a great addition to this defense. And, we saw it opening night. Gets a big pick six off Patrick Mahomes, returns it. He was playing incredible for a couple games. Then he got injured, hurt his ankle. I think he was out for a few weeks. And he came back and right back to playing well. And so I would think coming off the bye week, had another week to get healthier. I would expect for him to come back and be feeling really good. And Jack Campbell has been the same way, just flying around, playing linebacker, making plays. Their whole class has just been those top four guys for sure has really been like some great additions offensively and defensively to this team. And when you can add that from a rookie standpoint, you couple that with some veterans, some experienced guys, and you're gonna have yourself a good situation.
So I noticed, kind of looking over some stats, getting ready for this, that it seems like the Lions are doing a really good job defensively on third downs. They're having a lot of success getting the other team off the field on third downs. What are they doing defensively? Are they finding themselves in a lot of third and long situations? What is leading to that success on third down?
Well, third down success comes from first and second down success. You can't be successful in third downs if the teams are constantly in 3rd and 1, 3rd and 2, 3rd and 3. They're gonna convert those more times than not. And so in order to be good on third down, you have to be good on first down, stopping the run and putting them in second and long situations, forcing them to be in possible third and long situations. The odds of getting 3rd and 1 to 3 are a lot higher than getting 3rd and 4 to 8. And then it goes down even more when you got to get to 3rd and 10, 9, 10 plus. And so if you can do a good job on first and second down, keeping the team behind the chains, not letting them run for 6, 7 yards on first down, now you get a chance to put yourself in longer third down situations where you can turn loose your pass rush. They got guys, Aiden Hutchinson, that's been playing incredible, rushing the passer. When you can turn those guys loose to go and get after the passer, you're going to increase your chances of getting off the field on third down, especially when they have longer down and distances to go. And so I think that's the biggest thing. Their run defense was up there in the top 5 for a long time. I think they probably dropped after the Baltimore game, and Baltimore pretty much ran whatever they wanted to run on those guys. But I think they're still a top 5, top 10, run defense. And that's what helps you on third down, getting teams in those situations where they got to convert longer down in distances. And when you look at the offense and how they've been playing, a lot of times teams get up on you, and when the lines get up on you, now it takes you away from your running game a little bit because you're trying to keep up with points. And that also can help you get in more third and long situations, because now it's a incomplete pass on first down, it's a holding on second down, now it's second and extra long, and then you get 6 yards and now it's 3rd and 12. Those situations have been happening as well. So I think all of it kind of combines and comes together for them to be, having third down success. Obviously, the players got to go out and cover. They got to go out and execute the defensive call. They got to rush. They got to, stay away from penalties on third down and things like that. But for the most part, you give yourself a chance when you be successful on first down, second down. That puts you in third and longer situations.
So when they find themselves in those third and longer situations, I know you mentioned Aiden Hutchinson. It seems like his game is evolving here in year 2. Are they blitzing a lot? Are they getting home with 4-man rushes? What's the cause of their success with their pass rush?
I think it's a little bit of everything. I think it depends on the game and how they've done it. They had some games where they haven't really blitzed that much, and those guys have gotten pressure. And then they have some games where they blitz a little bit, linebacker here or there. I think they do a good job of green dogging, or rush linebackers rushing through running backs when running backs stay in the block and things like that, and reading those situations well. Because I think Alex Anzalone has 3 or 4 sacks that I know I've seen him get. So I think it's a little bit of everything. I don't think they are just known as like, all right, they get in third and whatever, they're going to be a blitz happy team. And I don't think they're known as, hey, they're not blitzing really at all. It's going to be a cover team. I think they kind of mix it up based off the situation and who they're playing and the matchups and what they got going on, the timing of the game. And they may hit you with a blitz on third down. They may hit you with some coverage and let Aiden and the rest of the guys get after you if they're having some success on their pass rushes. So it's just one of those things. But, this week playing against, and I always, for some reason, because I don't really talk a lot about the Chargers, so it's so hard for me to say the Los Angeles Chargers. I get so jacked up saying San Diego, but I'm gonna try not to do that this whole time. But this week playing against LA, obviously the defense is gonna have to play big against Justin Herbert and Keenan Allen. But I'm more worried about you guys' defense. this past week, Khalil Mack looked like Khalil Mack and Joey Bosa, and like the defense looked really good. Obviously, Derwin James getting healthier and healthier, and Asante Samuel's playing. Like, you guys' defense looked really good. And I know you're playing against the Jets. I get it. But they still looked really good. And, having two premier edge rushers with some premier secondary guys, that scares me a little bit. I mean, was this, and I haven't watched a lot of Seattle. I mean, not I haven't watched a lot of LA this year. So, was this like a breakout game for those guys, or have they been playing as good? I haven't really seen as much. I've expected you guys to win. I've picked you guys in a lot of games. But I haven't really felt or seen the impact that like they had this past week.
The last week was by far their best defensive performance. They've been getting steadily better. They also had a really good performance Sunday night against the Bears last week. So this is a group that I think is ascending. They're finally healthy. Bosa was banged up early in the season. He seems like he's getting back to being at least close to 100%. Mac's game is really elevated since about week 2 or 3. They've added Dean Marlowe at safety, who's allowing Derwin to play closer to the line of scrimmage and is letting him kind of play more like a third linebacker role and kind of hunt the ball a little bit more. And I think they went into last week's game knowing that the Jets didn't really have an offense. They weren't going to beat him over the top. If they stopped the run with that offensive line, they were going to get to Zach Wilson, and they were probably going to force some turnovers. It's just kind of the script that you saw coming for that game. So I don't want to take credit away from them. I do think their defense is getting better, but I think it's kind of a wait and see thing because they played two pretty bad teams the last couple of weeks, at least two really bad offenses. And it's hard to say, pound the table and say, yeah, they've arrived. This is the defense we're going to see for the rest of the season. But if that pass rush continues to go the way they've been going the last 3 weeks or so, then I think there's a chance the defense can start to turn around and do some damage in the second half of the season.
Yeah, I would agree. And then offensively, I've always liked you guys offensively, and I know you guys are dealing with some injuries. Keenan Allen has been a constant guy going over 10,000 yards for his career. That's incredible. Austin Eckler, Justin Herbert, like what has been going on outside of the injuries? It looks like you guys have just, and I know the Jets defense is pretty good, but it looked like it wasn't like they was trying to take a lot of shots up top. It's more like possession, dink and donk kind of offense, kind of work your way down the field. Obviously going to Eckler and Keenan Allen. Is there, I don't know, are they not trying to stretch the ball downfield because of the injuries to, Mike Williams and those guys, or is that just the new offense and what they're trying to do?
I think they're still trying to figure out what their identity is. I think, there's an element to their offense that they're really successful throwing the ball short, getting the ball into Eckler's hands and Keenan's hands quickly, getting it out of Herbert's hands as quickly as they can. And there's a couple reasons for that. One is with Corey Lindsey out, their offensive line has really struggled. They're just not, the protections aren't as consistent. They're not communicating things as well. They're not passing things off as well. So they're missing a lot of assignments, particularly in the middle of the offensive line. So they're trying to get the ball out so that Herbert doesn't have to hold the ball and get the ball down the field. I think they would like to get the ball down the field. And I think against the right matchups at times they had some success getting the ball down the field against the Vikings, for example, and in a few other games, but it just hasn't been consistent. And I think it seems like Kellen Moore just hasn't really figured out who he wants to be or what he wants the offense to be. They've just been really kind of disjointed. Week 1, they run the ball really well. They haven't run the ball since. Against the Vikings, they're getting chunk plays, throwing the ball down the field. They haven't had as much success doing that since. So there's a lot of things going on, but I think if they can protect, they'd like to get the ball down the field. They just haven't really, they've been in a lot of, third and long situations because they're not running the ball well on first and second down, and it's kind of making them more predictable.
Yeah. And it's just funny to see Kellen because I played with Kellen at in Detroit.
Oh, you did?
Yeah, when I was in Detroit, when I got to Detroit in 2013, Kellen came to Detroit, or was he in Detroit in 13? I think he might have been in Detroit in 2013. Yeah, because he was there with Scott Linehan, and I was only with Scott, I think, 1 year. My first year there, 2013, with Jim Swartz, and Scott Linehan was the coordinator. And so then Scott left and went to Dallas. I think Kellen was playing, and then the next year, Kellen Jim Caldwell and them came in, and I think Kellen got released because they brought in Dan Orlovsky, I think, as the backup quarterback. And then Kellen went to Dallas to be the backup quarterback, but he was going basically to be with Scott Linehan. And then once he gets released from Dallas, or however that worked out, he just went right into a quarterback coaching role.
Mm-hmm.
And then a couple changes or whatever, and next thing you know, he's an offensive coordinator. And then he gets out of Dallas, and now he's in LA. And so it's kind of cool to see. Like, I watched him in college. Obviously, I was a little older than him, what he was. So I watched him in college, at Boise, and played with him for a year. He's a smart guy, definitely a smart guy. He looks like a coordinator type of guy. But it's kind of cool to see him, doing his thing as a coordinator. But I can see it taking some time to kind of figure out who you want to be. You know what I'm saying? Because I'm sure he's probably really influenced by Linehan and then McCarthy and all those guys. And now you're kind of on your own to be able to develop your offense and what you want to be. And, going into LA. And, I think Justin Herbert, I don't understand why you guys are trying to get the ball out of his hands so quickly. Like, he's the $200 million guy. But I mean, I get you saying the offensive line has struggled. So you definitely don't want to get him hurt. But man, they got to give that guy a chance to sling it, man. He can throw it.
I think that was the goal of bringing Kellen Moore in. I think they've had a hard time getting separation with the wide receivers too. Keenan's really good underneath, but he's not really a guy who's going to stretch the field. They brought in Quentin Johnston in the draft, and the idea was he was going to be their CeeDee Lamb, but they really haven't used him at all, let alone using him like that. It just seems like they're confused on who and what they want Johnston to be within the confines of the offense. They're kind of trying to make him be Mike Williams, and that's not really his game. Josh Palmer's been great. They're getting decent production out of the tight end group, but that's kind of a limited group as well. Once you get past Everett, that group is not that great, not that deep. So I think they're just trying to make things easy on him as much as they can by not asking him to hold the ball too much. Because with Will Clapp at center instead of Corey Linsley, there's a lot missing there from a leadership and a recognition and a communication standpoint. It's a huge drop off.
Yeah.
So you mentioned Kellen. Do you know him well? Were you guys close at all while you were playing together?
I mean, I wouldn't say we were like close like that, but I know him. I've had conversations with him. But I don't have his phone number. I think that's kind of in today's world, that's kind of how I judge closeness. You know what I'm saying? Like, I know people, I play with people. I mean, we got great relationships, in the locker room and things like that, but we probably didn't hang out outside of football or this and this and that. So I don't really have his phone number. And if I do have a number, it's probably 9 years old if he didn't change it. You know what I'm saying? So, but yeah, if I seen Kellen right now, we could have a conversation and talk, and he would know who I am, and I know who he is. But I'm not gonna sit here and boast like I know Kellen intricately like that.
Well, when you did know him at the level that you knew him, was he a guy that struck you as, yeah, he's going to be a coach, he's a great leader, or what? Are you surprised by the career path he's taken? What
Well,
are your thoughts on him?
I didn't see Kellen as a leader type because he was quieter, but he was playing behind Stafford, and he was, it was a different environment. Obviously, you would think he has to be some type of a good leader because of way he was able to do things in college at Boise. Um, but he was more quiet guy. He's not a very big guy. He's kind of a small. He's not like, I mean, if you just saw Kellen walking on the street, you wouldn't think that he was a football player. He wasn't built like a athletic type guy. He was just smart and he could throw the ball. Um, so yeah, I could definitely see him being a coach. I could definitely see him taking that path. He was a backup quarterback for a while, so he's smart. He understands the game. He understands the offense and all those type of things. Um, so I could definitely see him being a coach. Like I say, he leadership wise, I didn't really get to see it as much just because, like I said, he was behind Stafford. And it was just a different situation there that year with Jim Schwartz last year in Detroit. But I mean, like I said, I'm sure he's somebody that can garner the respect of his offense, of his guys that he's leading. And if you can't, then yeah, it's going to show quickly, and you'll be out of there. I think so.
So as a former defensive guy, if you were drawing up the defensive game plan against the Chargers, how would you attack the Chargers offense?
I mean, what I want to do, I'm going to pack the underneath, because that's where they're trying to get Austin Eckler the ball underneath. They're trying to get the tight ends the ball underneath, and they're trying to get Keenan Allen the ball. And like you said, Keenan Allen is really good underneath, and the only way he's going to beat you over the top is through a double move. And he runs really good routes, so he will beat you on a double move. That's just the way that he is. But I'm going to force you to do that. You mentioned the offensive line. I want to attack the weaknesses, through different, rush games. You say they can't pass them off. Well, okay, we're going to see how they handle this stunt on the end, on the interior. Like, let's see how they handle it early in the game. And so for me, I would come out early in the game and throw some blitzes at them and just see how they handle it. If they ain't handling it, it's going to be a long day for you, because I'm going to keep bringing them. If you pick them up, now I'm like, okay, well, they did that. They did those pretty good. I might come out the second drive and, see if they can pick them up again, right? Make sure that it wasn't a fluke. And then if they're continuing to pick them up, I might be like, okay, well, they seem to have that down, or they're not struggling, so we're going to do something different. But if they show any kind of signs of struggle, then I'm going to keep bringing the pressure. But understanding they trying to get the ball out of Herbert's hands. So at secondary, we can't be playing 8, 9, 10 yards off and just giving up short underneath passes. We got to compress the field and come down and force them to take us up top. And if they do that, then we can adjust. But we're not going to just give them that, But we got to stop the key players. And the key players, in my opinion, Austin Eckler, Keenan Allen. If we stop those two guys and slow those two guys down, I don't think the tight ends will beat you. They can make a couple plays, but I don't think they'll beat you. I don't know any other the wide receivers, honestly. So I can't say whether they will or won't beat you. I know Mike Williams, definitely a big time guy, but he's not there. So that would be my game plan. Let's make sure that we get up on these guys, force them to take shots up top, get pressure on Herbert, and continue to stop the run and Austin Eckler out the backfield in the pass game. But I would put that same question to you, with the lines being explosive as they are, Jared Goff leading the charge, Jahmyr Gibbs coming off a big game like he had, on Monday Night Football. But now you're coming off the bye. David Montgomery's supposed to be back. You're getting Frank Ragnow back on the O-line. You're getting Jonah Jackson back on the O-line. So the O-line should be getting healthier. That's probably the strength of that offense, with Taylor Decker, Penei Sewell, those guys. You're getting Jameson Williams is hopefully starting to get back into his groove coming off of his suspension, and we need to get more shots down the field with him. But how do you guys, a stop or attack this Lions offense and try to slow those guys down. I think you might be muted.
The first thing they have to do is they really have to obviously slow down Amon St. Ra. I think they've got to get in his face, make him work his way down the field, maybe bracket him at times, and find ways to slow him down and make somebody else beat you in the passing game. There was a time earlier in the season where I probably would have been really nervous about the Chargers stopping the run. They've been really good against the run the last 3 or 4 weeks. So I feel like they're in a position where they can at least contain the running game. So really keep them to third and medium, third and long. The Chargers run really good line games up front with Bosa and Thule and Mack. So find ways to continue to run and execute those line games and get pressure in Goff's face. I think you want to make Goff beat you down the field and kind of take away some of those short passes. So that's kind of how I would attack it. I know Goff was a guy who, when the Lions traded for him, people thought, oh, it'll be 1 year and the Lions will be drafting a quarterback in the first round. But he seems like he's turned his game around. So I think you really gotta hit him. You got to get after him, make him feel the pressure, and hopefully make him make some mistakes down the field.
I think that sounds about right. Sounds about right. You know, I like I said, I think the Lions want to run the ball. Getting David Montgomery back. You know, it'd be interesting to see how they do it this week because, like I said, Jahmyr Gibbs had a big day, big night on Monday Night Football, and now you're getting David Montgomery back. So how do how they're gonna mix up those carries to where David Montgomery can get, the carries that he need, but Jahmyr Gibbs can get the touches that he need, and you still have, some left over for Amon-Ra St. Brown and Sam Laporta and those guys. I'm interested to see how Donovan Peoples-Jones is gonna, fit into this equation as well. I think he came in at the perfect time. He got traded right on their bye week, so he's not coming in on a Tuesday getting ready for a game on Sunday. He came in on a Tuesday over the bye week, so he was able to get a couple. They probably practice. I mean, they played on that Monday night, so I'm pretty sure they didn't do anything that Tuesday. They might have had a light day Wednesday and give them a break, right? But they probably came back on Sunday night, practice Monday. Probably took Tuesday off and now went. So he's had, plenty of time to get some practices in, to get some offensive understanding in as well. So I'd be interested to see how he's going to, fit into the equation. They wasn't getting much from Marvin Jones. And he decided to step away and tend to his family. And Jameson Williams hasn't been that deep threat that I think they expect him to be. So I'd be interested to see how Donovan Peoples-Jones, bigger body, how they try to use him and how he fits into that equation. But this is just a lot of options over there, and I'm pretty sure it's tough to try to figure out how you're going to get all these guys the ball. And man,
yeah, I think what worries me is Laporta against the Chargers linebackers. That's a matchup that I'm not crazy about, and any kind of crossers, in breaking routes that put the linebackers in conflict. Kenneth Murray's having a really good season. Still don't necessarily love him in coverage. Eric Kendricks looks a step or two slow right now. He's really struggling in coverage. So anything that forces those guys to make decisions and cover space, cover men in the open field, I think is going to give the Lions a lot of success. So those are a couple matchups that really worry me for the Chargers defense.
Yeah.
Have they been using Laporta in that kind of intermediate area, or is he more of a safety blanket for them underneath?
You know what? He's kind of been all over. You know what I'm saying? I've seen them use him as a safety blanket. I've seen them using in the intermediate, and I've seen them, get down the field, stretch the field, and make plays. I think when they played against Tampa a few weeks ago, they really tried to go at Levante David, and Levante David held up. I thought Levante David played a great game against Sam Laporta, but they were going down the field, across the field, like they were trying to get him the ball. And so I think, if they got Durbin, matched up on Laporta, that'll probably, you know, take away from what they try to do with Laporta, because of the respect uh, for Durbin. You can't continue to just go at a guy like that without him making an impact play in the game. But if they can get the Chargers to put their best DB on Sam Laporta, then that obviously is going to open up more space for the other guys, Amon-Ra St. Brown and Jahmyr Gibbs out of the backfield, and just different things like that, because Derwin James is locked up with Sam Laporta. And as a rookie, sometimes you just, all right, well, you just got to be the decoy for the weekend. It just is what it is. So it'll be interesting to see how they try to match that up. But I think they use Laporta however they see fit. I don't think they have him just as a safety blanket. I think if Jared Goff gets in trouble, he will look for Laporta because he's shown to be a reliable guy. You know what I'm saying? So he'll look for Laporta, but I don't think that's their thought process with him is like, hey, we just need you to be, the safety blanket, make sure you're this or that. Like, I think they call plays for him in the intermediate. I think they take shots, call plays for him to get downfield. And if he wins, they're gonna throw it to him and see if he can make those plays. And so it'd be interesting to see how they do it this week. Like I said, with a guy like Derwin James, who will possibly be lined up on him at some point.
Where have opposing offenses had success against the Lions defense? What's working for opposing offenses?
Well, when the Lions, the two games that they've lost, it's kind of been the same formula. When they lost to Seattle was able to run the ball some, but Seattle beat them with DK Metcalf, Tyler Lockett, crossing routes, underneath stuff, run after the catch, and then every now and then they got a shot. But Geno Smith being active in the pocket, being able to get out, convert third downs, and they were just able to beat up on the Lions. And then you go to 2 weeks ago against Baltimore. Baltimore was able to run the ball on them. Lamar Jackson was stellar that game. Staying alive in the pocket. When you can stay alive in the pocket, give your receivers more time, makes the pass rush tired. So now they're tired from pass rushing. So then they're probably not as strong as and ready for run defense as well. And they were just able to control the game, and I think a lot of it stemmed from the running game, power running game. And then mobile quarterbacks able to keep things alive and get guys downfield. I think they played off of the Ravens wide receivers way too much. They gave, those guys way too much credit. Odell Beckham and Marquise Brown gave those guys way too much space, and they made them pay. And so I was afraid. I was a little worried the game before that when they played Tampa, because Tampa had Mike Evans, had Chris Godwin. So I was like, okay, when we play a team that got, a couple good wide receivers, it could get dicey. And so they did well against Tampa. They did not play well against the Ravens. They came back this past week, the week before, I guess, before the bye, against who did they play on Monday night?
Good question.
Oh, the Raiders. They came back against the Raiders and they played well against Devontae Adams. But then again, how much of that was Jimmy Garoppolo, because Devontae Adams was running wide open for 2 touchdowns. And they didn't make the throw. They didn't execute it. So I think teams, like that have been able to give them problems. So you guys, are you guys going to be able to stick to or produce like a power run game instead of a finesse run game. Um, can Herbert stay alive in the pocket and make plays off schedule? Those are the type of things that has been hurting the Lions defense for sure.
Yeah,
For sure.
those are all good points. I think those are areas the Chargers need to work on too. When they've had success running the ball, it's usually with a power running game. When they struggle, it's usually because they are switching back to their outside zone, which they've had no success with. But they seem to be determined to try to pound the ball that way, even though they don't do it very well. So it's been a little frustrating to watch. All right, well, what's your prediction for the game? How do you think this game is going to go?
Oh man. So they're playing in LA. I can see this being a shootout to a degree. I think the Chargers offense can be explosive. They are missing some guys, but I still think they put up some points against the Jets defense, and I think the Jets defense is pretty good. But I think the Lions can be explosive as well, especially coming off of the bye. Coaches got time to draw all types of stuff up, and you got time to practice it. And, the guys are excited to be back on the field playing again. It's going to be in LA. It's beautiful, great environment. So I can see this one being a pretty entertaining game. And so I would probably, I think I have to get the Lions to win. I think they're playing pretty good. But I think offensively, with you guys missing some guys, I think the Lions offense would get the nod. If we had to just go offense to offense, I think we would say the Lions offense is probably, their O-line is stronger. Their offense is probably stronger. I think defensively, if you guys play the way you guys played on Monday night, I think defensively you guys are probably a touch, with Khalil Mack, Joey Bosa, Derwin James. Like, you guys have some guys really that can disrupt an offense. And the Lions have some guys too. But I just think from a weighted standpoint, we probably would say, okay, we'll give San Diego's defense, if they play the way they played on Monday night, we'll give them the nod. And then it comes down to special teams or which quarterback is going to make the most plays or which coaching staff and all that stuff. And I don't really try to get into all that stuff. So I would say the Lions would probably get the win. Tough game on the road. Exciting. It's a 4:00 game, right? Well, probably 1:00 out there, right?
It's 1:00. Yeah.
Yeah,
1
so it's
o'clock out here.
4:00 Eastern. So 3:00. Entertaining game. It's gonna get dark on the East Coast while they're playing. So it'll be a great night. And I'm gonna say it's gonna be like 38-31 type of game, 38-28, 35-31, somewhere in that range type of game. But I'll give it to the Lions, obviously.
Yeah, I think looking at this game, I think what concerns me is the Chargers are coming off of a really physical game with the Jets on Monday Night Football, coming back playing 6 days later with 2 cross-country flights in 2 days. I feel like this is a game the Chargers probably lose because I think the Lions are a really good football team, and I think it's probably going to be a fun game. I'm going to say I'll go 31-27 in a close one. I just feel like with the Lions might have some success running the ball later in the game. The Chargers are healthy. They're fully healthy for the first time all year going into a game. Their injury report is actually completely clean with the exception of Herbert's finger. So they are healthy, but I think the Lions probably pull it out. I just have a feeling we're going to see some explosive plays pop up against the Chargers defense again, which is something they've limited the last couple of weeks, but this is a different offense than what they faced the last couple of weeks. So I'll go 31-27 Lions, and a really close game, probably a late win late in the fourth quarter.
Sounds about right. I would have to agree. I think it'll be that type of game. And I think the
agree.
Lions will get the
win. No bias there, though, right?
No bias. You know what? What's been bad is that, I'm not really good at seeing the bad. I always look at, how the game should play out, and it doesn't always play out that way, right? So it's been hard for me to pick. I picked the Lions to beat Seattle. I mean, it was coming off of a big opening night win. It's a first home game. I picked the Lions to beat Seattle. I picked them to beat the Ravens. I didn't think the Ravens were playing great. I think the Ravens went on a roll when they beat the Lions because they've been steamrolling people these last couple of weeks. You know what I'm saying? But before that, I didn't think the Ravens were. I mean, they lost. I mean, they lost a few games, right? So I'm like, the Lions got to go on the road and get another win. They went to Tampa and got a win. This is how you show that you're a good football team. The Lions got to go and do it. And they went and got drug. You know what I'm saying? And so this game is like, the Lions, you're coming off the bye, right? You're playing against a LA team, right? Like you said, they traveled across the country, flew to New York, had to fly back. They played on Monday night. It's a short week for them. Yeah, it's a home game for them, but it's a short week. It's a physical game in New York. Like, you guys are rested, coming up. Like, you guys should be able to go out there and win this game. It's hard for me to pick them to lose, but I got to pick them to lose at least. I got to pick them to lose at least twice this year. I just don't know when.
Only twice?
Well, I mean, it's hard for me. It's hard for a team to just go undefeated. So I feel like I got to pick them to lose at least twice. I'm over here expecting them to go 17-0. I don't think that's gonna happen.
It's probably not gonna happen, but I like the optimism. Well, Glover, I really appreciate you coming on. This has been a lot of fun. I hope you had a good time.
I did. Appreciate you having me, man. Appreciate you having me.
It's my pleasure. Do you want to tell everybody where they can find you if they want to go looking for you and hear more from you?
Well, we I'm on the Believe in Lines podcast on the Believe Network and anywhere else you listen to your podcast and all those different things. And then I'm just on all the social medias personally. Glover Quin on Instagram, Glover Quin Jr. on Twitter, TikTok. I got several pages on my Instagram because I do a bunch of different things. So all those are on all those tags are out there. But if you just search my name, you can find me all over.
Well, here's hoping for a Chargers Lions Super Bowl. Maybe we can do this again in January or February.
That'd be dope.
That would be.
That'd be dope. That'd be dope.
All right. Well, thank you so much. I really appreciate it.
All right, man. Thank you.
Yep. For those of you who tuned in, we appreciate you tuning in. We hope you enjoyed the content. Just a reminder, we have on Sunday, we have our after hour show. Monday, we have off. Tuesday, we have our mailbag show. Wednesday, we have Wednesday, we have Score More. Thursday, we have a walkthrough. And next Friday, we will have Craig with I Got 5 on it. That's our schedule. Please make sure you subscribe, like, and follow. We appreciate the support. And we will see everybody next time. Thank you.